My name is Bill Holstein, and I'm president of the Overseas Press Club Foundation. Today, as always, we're fighting for the highest quality of international news coverage. We're fighting against the forces of isolationism, against a sort of national navel-gazing that's going on today. We're fighting against all the bullies and thugs around the world, including here at home. We're doing that by identifying the next generation of foreign correspondents and launching their careers. That's what we're doing here today, knowing that they embrace the same values and the same aspirations that we once embraced when we were still babes in the woods. Thanks in part to your generous support and your presence here today, we've been able to increase the amount of money we give to each of our winners by $1,000. Yes. So your foundation, and it is your foundation because you support us, keeps getting stronger and stronger. We are thrilled, for example, to have become the fiscal sponsor, the financial sponsor for the coalition that is fighting to save lives of freelancers around the world. To talk about that, here's John Daniszewski, who is a triple hitter. He's the vice president of the AP, he's vice president of our foundation board, and also on the board of the coalition, which is called A Culture of Safety, or ACOS. John Daniszewski.
Hi. For those of you who don't know the history, ACOS was launched in 2015. It was after the horrible year for journalists of 2014 when freelance journalists Jim Foley and Stephen Satloff were killed in Syria. The AP lost our beloved photographer Anya Niederinghaus in Afghanistan, and Simone Kamili in Gaza. So a group of us from AP and Reuters and other organizations got together with freelance journalists, and we drafted principles for safety. And ACOS was born as Bill said, it stands for A Culture of Safety Alliance. And I just wanted to update you today on, from those humble seeds, some of the things that have happened with ACOS in the past year. The ACOS over the last year has carried off 14 separate training activities in partnership with journalism NGOs and news organizations. In 2018, we trained more than 200 freelance journalists in U.S. and Europe, Colombia, Mexico, Lebanon, Greece, Thailand, Philippines, and Kenya. Since ACOS launched, it has trained more than 350 journalists. And we also think it's important to train editors who send journalists into hostile environments. So we've operated editor safety workshops, and 90 editors for various news organizations have attended these workshops. And ACOS is working on several practical resources to help journalists in the field, local journalists and freelance journalists, including getting them groundbreaking insurance solutions so they can have safety insurance for harm while working as a journalist, self-safety assessments, safety guidelines for news organizations, and templates for hiring freelance journalists that take into account their need for safety equipment. Each initiative we undertake is in support of the ACOS principles, and we would ask your help in trying to spread those principles, and they can be found on the ACOS website. It's acosalliance.org, and I encourage you to look at them and get involved. As Bill mentioned, this has been a tremendously important year organizationally for ACOS. The OPC Foundation had been the fiscal sponsor for ACOS, allowing it to receive grant money through the OPC. But this year we reorganized, making ACOS actually a wholly owned subsidiary of the Overseas Press Foundation. This was done in a way that allows both organizations to operate independently and yet it gives a sort of a legal status and a legal basis to ACOS, which didn't have it before. We have here today lawyers from Paul, Weiss, Rifkin, Wharton, and Garrison, the firm that pro bono, and which is very important to ACOS, pro bono allowed us to do this reorganization, and I would like to publicly thank them. The ACOS Alliance is a worldwide organization, and this year we have added to our board to expand our geographic reach. We now have representatives from Deutsche Welle News, the BBC, the International Women's Media Forum. We have Art Sotloff, who's the founder of the Two Lives Stephen Sotloff Memorial Foundation in Miami. And of course, we have Diane Foley, the mother of Jim Foley, here with us today. And we have added 3 distinguished freelance journalists, Finbar O'Reilly and Andrea Schmidt from London and Toronto, respectively, and photojournalist Danielle Zachman. The idea is that ACOS represents freelance journalists and established news organizations and NGOs, all united for the cause of safety. Elizabeth Quintenas, who is our executive director and who's based in Barcelona, wanted me especially today to thank Jane Riley and Bill Holstein because, as she said, they are the best fiscal sponsors ACOS ever could have hoped for. So thank you, guys. And thank you.
Enjoy your lunches. We'll be back shortly.